We've talked about before what impacts or moves option premiums. Now let's talk about what an option premium is actually made of. The value of an option premium is a combination of its intrinsic and extrinsic value. The intrinsic value of an option is the portion of the premium that is in the money. We've talked about moneyness before. For a call, it is in the money when the stock price is greater than the strike price. So for a call option, its intrinsic value is the stock price minus the strike price when it is in the money. If it's not in the money, there's no intrinsic value. For the put option, it is in the money when the stock price is lower than the strike price. And again, when we talk about in the money, we are talking about from the perspective of the buyer of the option. For a put, it has intrinsic value when, again, the strike price is greater than the stock price. So the intrinsic value is taking the strike price and minusing the stock price. That will give you the intrinsic value. Extrinsic value is the value of the premium that is in excess of the intrinsic value. And it is also known as the time value because we can say this value is just due to the remaining time to expiration. As we approach expiration, the time value will go to zero and you will be left with just the intrinsic value at expiration. And what we mean by excess of intrinsic value, and it's just going back to this simple formula. You have an option premium, you have the intrinsic value. So anything more than the intrinsic value is the extrinsic value. So these two combined will give you the option premium or the price of the option. At expiration, there is no extrinsic or time value expiration. Again, at expiration, the time value is gone, it's wiped out. And you are just left with intrinsic value. So the option premium at expiration is basically just the intrinsic value. Remember that we started out with the option premium value when you bought it is comprised of the intrinsic plus the extrinsic value. But because extrinsic value goes to zero, then you're just left with intrinsic value if you are in the money. And if you have no intrinsic value at expiration, then of course the option is worth zero or worthless. So at expiration, time zero is zero, and if you're not in the money, then your option is basically zero, and you lost the money that you paid on it. Again, this is in the perspective of the buyer. So if the buyer made the wrong decision or direction by buying the call or the put, then they will lose the value of the option that they paid for.